The day the sky burned. The morning sun over Geneva cast long shadows across the United Earth Council building when the sky changed forever. Dr. Sarah Kim was reviewing stellar survey data in her office when every screen in the building flickered to emergency red. Through her window, she watched as massive shapes materialized in Earth's atmosphere, blocking out portions of the morning light. 800 ships hung in the sky like dark monuments to an alien empire. Each vessel stretched several kilometers in length, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb sunlight. The largest ship positioned itself directly over the council building, casting the entire complex into shadow. President Elena Vasquez stood in the emergency command center, her weathered hand steady as she watched the feeds from around Earth. Once an astronaut who had walked on Mars, she had spent the last decade preparing for this exact moment. Her gray hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her dark eyes held no trace of fear as the screen showed similar scenes across every major city on the planet. Madam President called her communications officer. "We're receiving a transmission on all frequencies." The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being had smooth blue skin stretched tight over angular features, with large silver eyes that seemed to hold ancient knowledge. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "I am Ambassador Zephyr of the Stellar Confederation. Your species has been selected for integration into our glorious empire. You have 48 hours to dismantle all military installations and prepare for occupation. Your governments will dissolve, and your people will serve the greater good of the Confederation." The alien leaned forward, its expression growing cold. "Do not consider resistance. We have conquered 4,000 worlds across this galaxy. Your primitive technology poses no threat to our fleet. Surrender, and your species will survive as laborers. Resist, and you will face complete extermination." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. President Vasquez turned to face her assembled advisors, military commanders, and scientists. Among them stood General Thomas Bradley, a man whose official record showed 3 decades of standard military service. His real history was far more interesting. "General Bradley," Vasquez said calmly, "I believe it's time to activate the Prometheus Protocol." Bradley nodded and stepped forward. "All stations, this is General Bradley. Authorization code Prometheus 77 Alpha. Begin immediate activation of all deep space assets." Across the solar system, hidden installations began powering up. Behind the moon, massive hangars opened to reveal sleek warships unlike anything in Earth's official records. In the asteroid belt, mining stations transformed into military bases, their surfaces bristling with weapons that had been concealed for decades. Near Jupiter, what appeared to be research stations revealed themselves as fully armed battle fortresses. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, humanity's most advanced warship. The vessel had been built in secret over the past 20 years, incorporating technology that Earth officially didn't possess. Chen was a tall man with sharp features and calculating eyes, someone who had spent his entire career preparing for interstellar warfare. "All ships report ready, Captain," said his first officer, Lieutenant Commander Jessica Torres. "The fleet stands at full combat readiness." Chen nodded as he studied the tactical display. 200 human warships were now visible on sensors, emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. But this was only the beginning of humanity's response. "Open a channel to Earth Command," Chen ordered. President Vasquez appeared on his screen, standing in what looked like a much more advanced command center than the one the aliens had seen. "Captain Chen, are our outer colonies ready?" "Yes, Madam President. All 12 systems are online and awaiting orders." Dr. Sarah Kim stepped into view beside the President. As Earth's chief xenobiologist and secret architect of humanity's expansion program, she had been monitoring alien movements for over 2 decades. "Captain, our long-range sensors show the Confederation fleet is exactly as predicted. They're overconfident and have positioned themselves for orbital bombardment rather than ship-to-ship combat." Ambassador Zephyr stood in the command center of his flagship, reviewing what his sensors showed of Earth's defenses. The planet appeared to have only basic orbital stations and a handful of primitive spacecraft. This would be another easy conquest for the Confederation. Admiral Crix, he called to his military commander, a battle-scarred warrior whose species had served the Confederation for centuries. Begin demonstration bombardment of their largest cities. Target their government centers first. Admiral Crix studied his tactical displays with growing unease. Something felt wrong about this situation. In his experience, species that submitted quickly showed fear, while those planning to resist usually began mobilizing immediately. The humans had done neither. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "I'm detecting energy signatures from multiple locations throughout this system. These readings don't match our intelligence reports." Before Crix could respond, space around the Confederation fleet erupted with human ships. They appeared from behind moons, emerged from asteroid fields, and dropped out of hyperspace from directions the aliens hadn't been monitoring. The human vessels were smaller than Confederation ships, but moved with startling speed and precision. Captain Chen led the first attack wing directly toward the alien flagship. His ships flew in formation patterns that seemed chaotic, but served to confuse enemy targeting systems. Human vessels darted between the massive alien ships like fighters engaging bombers, too fast and numerous for the enemy's heavy weapons to track effectively. "All ships, execute Alpha pattern," Chen commanded. "Remember, we know their capabilities, but they don't know ours." The human fleet had been designed specifically to fight Confederation technology. For 2 centuries, Earth's secret space program had been analyzing alien signals, studying wreckage from ancient battles, and preparing for this confrontation. Every human weapon had been designed to exploit known weaknesses in Confederation shields and armor. The battle that followed shocked Admiral Crix. Human plasma cannons punched through Confederation shields like they were made of paper. Kinetic missile swarms overwhelmed alien point defense systems. Most disturbing of all, the human ships seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum damage. "How is this possible?" Crix demanded as his fleet took heavy casualties. "Our intelligence showed they had no advanced technology." Ambassador Zephyr watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet suffered defeat after defeat. These weren't the primitive savages he had expected to conquer. The humans fought with a coordination and tactical knowledge that spoke of extensive preparation. President Vasquez opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. Her face appeared on screens throughout the Confederation fleet, and her voice carried the calm authority of someone who held the winning hand. "Ambassador Zephyr, I believe you underestimated humanity. You see, we've been preparing for your arrival for over 200 years. The alien's silver eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. Your species only achieved spaceflight 50 years ago." Vask smiled coldly. "That's what we wanted you to think. The truth is, we've been watching your empire expand across the galaxy for centuries. We've studied your technology, learned your tactics, and prepared our response. Did you really think a species that reached the stars would be satisfied with one solar system?" On the tactical displays, the scope of humanity's deception became clear. What the Confederation had thought was a single-planet species was actually a growing interstellar civilization. Human colonies existed in 12 star systems, each one armed and ready for war. The primitive Earth was actually the command center of a military alliance that spanned dozens of light years. Dr. Kim stepped forward to address the alien fleet. "We know about your empire's methods. Ambassador, you find isolated species, demand their surrender, and add their worlds to your collection. But humanity is not isolated, and we are certainly not defenseless." General Bradley appeared beside the president, his uniform now showing his true rank and decorations. "For 2 centuries, we've been building a network of colonies, bases, and allies. Every world you've conquered, every species you've enslaved, has been noted and remembered. Today that ends." The battle continued to rage around Earth as more human reinforcements arrived. Ships bearing the insignia of the Martian Colonial Navy, the Europa Defense Force, and the Titan Industrial Guard joined the fight. What had seemed like a simple conquest was becoming the largest military disaster in Confederation history. Captain Chen pressed his attack against the alien flagship, his smaller vessels swarming around the massive ship like wasps attacking a giant. His crew worked with the precision that came from decades of training for this exact scenario. Drathos struck the council table with enough force to crack the stone surface. The humans were supposed to be a primitive species. How could they have orchestrated something like this? "Sir," interrupted a communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human diplomatic vessel. They're requesting negotiations." The main screen activated to show Captain Foster standing in what was clearly an advanced starship's bridge. Behind her, representatives of multiple alien species could be seen, including several that the Confederation had believed were completely subjugated. "High Chancellor Drathos," Foster began with calm professionalism, "I am Captain Riley Foster, representing the Free Worlds Alliance. We are prepared to discuss terms for the peaceful dissolution of your empire." Drathos laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You dare to offer me terms? I command 10,000 ships and 1,000,000 worlds." "Commanded," Foster corrected gently. "As of this moment, you're facing rebellions on over 200 worlds, with more joining the resistance every hour. Your fleet is scattered across the galaxy trying to maintain control, while our combined forces grow stronger." Lieutenant Jake Morrison, a young pilot aboard the UES Striker, watched as the largest space battle in galactic history began to unfold. The 22-year-old had graduated from the academy just months before the Confederation's arrival, but his skills had already earned him recognition as one of humanity's most talented pilots. "All fighters, this is Strike Leader Morrison," he called to his squadron. "Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species that wants to be free." The battle took place simultaneously across dozens of star systems. Human fleets, supported by their alien allies, engaged Confederation forces in a coordinated campaign designed to stretch the Empire's resources beyond their breaking point. The rebels had learned from the Confederation's own tactics, using the Empire's vast size against them. Commander Vex led a combined force of Saurian and human ships against a major Confederation stronghold in the Rigel system. His reptilian features showed fierce satisfaction as enemy ships fell to weapons that had been secretly developed through human-alien cooperation. "The Confederation taught us that strength comes from unity," Vex transmitted to his allies. "Today, we show them what true unity looks like." Dr. Moonwhisper coordinated the psychic network that kept all rebel forces in communication across the galaxy. Her people's abilities allowed near-instantaneous coordination between widely separated fleets, giving the rebellion a crucial advantage over the Confederation's slower communication methods. "All forces," she broadcast to every rebel ship, "the Chancellor's reserve fleet is moving to engage our forces in the core systems. Prepare for the decisive battle." The core systems held the Confederation's government worlds and primary shipyards. If the rebels could take control there, the Empire would effectively cease to exist. But Drathos had concentrated his most powerful fleets in that region, and the coming battle would determine the fate of the galaxy. Captain Chen, now commanding a task force of 50 human warships, led the advance toward the galactic core. His ships moved in formation with vessels from a dozen different species, each contributing their unique capabilities to the combined fleet. "This is it," Chen announced to his task force. "Everything we've worked for comes down to the next few hours. Show the galaxy what the Free Worlds Alliance can accomplish." The battle of the core systems raged for 18 hours. Confederation ships, desperate to preserve their empire, fought with the fury of cornered predators. But they faced an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The Rebel Alliance combined human tactical innovation with alien technologies and fighting styles that the Confederation had never learned to counter. Young Lieutenant Morrison distinguished himself by leading a daring attack on the Confederation's command ship, his fighter squadron penetrating the vessel's defenses to disable their primary communications array. Without coordination, the Confederation fleet began to fragment. President Vasquez watched the battle from Earth's command center, surrounded by advisors both human and alien. The room had been transformed into the nerve center of an interstellar alliance, with representatives from every member species contributing to the strategic planning. Madam President, General Bradley reported, "Our forces have secured the core systems. The Confederation government is requesting terms. Target their main engines," Chen ordered. "Lieutenant Torres, coordinate with Attack Wing 7. I want that ship dead in space." The combined assault succeeded. The Confederation flagship, wounded and surrounded, found itself unable to escape as human ships systematically destroyed its weapons and propulsion systems. Throughout the battle zone, similar scenes played out as Earth's hidden fleet overwhelmed their supposedly superior enemies. Ambassador Zephyr found himself facing a choice he had never imagined making. His fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that should not have existed. The humans had not only prepared for war, but had done so with a patience and thoroughness that exceeded anything in Confederation experience. "Admiral Crix," he said quietly, "signal the retreat. All ships that can still jump should do so immediately." As the surviving Confederation vessels fled Earth's solar system, President Vasquez addressed her people from the command center that was no longer hidden. The secret was out now, and humanity would face whatever came next as a united interstellar civilization. "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies," she began, "today we reveal ourselves to the galaxy. For 2 centuries, we have grown in secret, preparing for the day when we would need to defend not just our world, but our way of life. That day has come, and we have proven that humanity will not bow to any empire. The first battle was over, but everyone knew this was only the beginning. The Stellar Confederation would not accept this defeat easily, and they would return with greater force. But humanity was no longer hiding, and they were no longer alone. The real war was about to begin." Shadows of the Void. 3 weeks after Earth's victory, Captain Riley Foster stood in the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel UES Harmony, watching as alien ships of a dozen different designs approached their rendezvous point. Unlike the massive uniform vessels of the Stellar Confederation, these ships showed the diversity of species that had been secretly working with humanity for decades. Foster was a tall woman with silver hair and keen blue eyes, someone who had spent her career building relationships across the galaxy, while officially serving as a deep space explorer. Today, she would help coordinate the largest rebellion in galactic history. "Captain Foster," came a voice behind her. She turned to see Commander Vex, a reptilian being whose scales shifted color with his emotions. Currently, they showed the deep blue of determination. Vex represented the Saurian Resistance, one of 6 alien species that had been secretly allied with humanity. "Commander," Foster replied, offering the gesture of respect common among the Saurians. "Are your fleets ready?" "All 20 battle groups are in position," Vex confirmed. "My people have waited 3 centuries for this chance at freedom. We will not waste it." The rebellion had been planned in absolute secrecy for decades. While the Stellar Confederation believed they faced only humanity, the truth was far more complex. Earth's expansion had not been random exploration, but a carefully orchestrated effort to contact and unite the galaxy's oppressed species. Dr. Aria Moonwhisper materialized beside them, her ethereal form shimmering as she shifted from pure energy to physical matter. The telepathic beings known as the Ethereals had been among humanity's first and most valuable allies, able to communicate across vast distances without technology that the Confederation could detect. The psychic network is fully active. She communicated directly into their minds, her voice like crystal bells. "All resistance cells across the galaxy are ready to begin simultaneous operations." Foster nodded and activated the communication array. Throughout the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, resistance fighters who had been secretly armed and trained by human advisors prepared to strike. The Confederation was about to learn that their empire was not as secure as they believed. High Chancellor Drathos stood in the Supreme Command Center of the Confederation capital world. His ancient features twisted with rage as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The tall, skeletal being had ruled the Confederation for over a millennium, expanding their empire through fear and overwhelming force. Nothing had prepared him for what was happening now. Rebellions on 47 worlds simultaneously. He snarled at his advisors. How is this possible? Admiral Crix, still recovering from his defeat at Earth, stepped forward with obvious reluctance. Your Eminence, it appears the humans have been far more active than we realized. Our intelligence suggests they have been secretly contacting and arming resistance movements for decades. Vasquez nodded, feeling the weight of history in this moment. Open a channel to High Chancellor Drathos. The ancient alien appeared on screen, his arrogance replaced by the hollow look of defeat. Around him, his command center showed the chaos of a collapsing empire. Chancellor, Vasquez said formally, the Free Worlds Alliance offers you and your people a choice. Join us in building a new galactic community based on cooperation and mutual respect, or face continued resistance until your empire completely collapses. Drathos stared at her for a long moment, his mind processing the end of everything he had built. What are your terms? Complete autonomy for all member worlds, Foster interjected, taking over the negotiations. Democratic representation for all species, no more forced labor or tributary payments, and war crimes tribunals for those who committed atrocities under the old system. Dr. Kim appeared beside the president, her scientific mind having helped plan not just the military campaign but the social reconstruction that would follow. We're not seeking to destroy the Confederation species, Chancellor. We want to give everyone, including your people, the chance to participate in a better galactic community. The negotiations took 3 days. When they concluded, the Stellar Confederation formally dissolved itself, with its member worlds given the choice to join the new Free Worlds Alliance or maintain independence. Most chose to join, attracted by the promise of democratic representation and mutual cooperation. Commander Vex stood with Captain Foster on the observation deck of the new Alliance headquarters, watching as ships from dozens of species arrived for the first intergalactic congress. Your species accomplished something remarkable, he told her. You could have built your own empire, but instead you chose to build something better. Foster smiled, watching human children playing with young aliens in the station's common areas. That's what makes us human, I suppose. We'd rather have friends than subjects. Dr. Moonwhisper joined them, her form solid and relaxed now that the stress of coordinated galactic war had ended. The Psychic Network reports that peace negotiations are proceeding on schedule across all former Confederation worlds. There have been remarkably few incidents of violence. People are tired of war, Foster observed. When you give them the choice between fighting and building something better, most choose to build. Lieutenant Morrison, now promoted to commander for his actions during the war, piloted the ceremonial flight of ships from all Alliance species around the new capital station. His voice carried across the communication channels to every ship and station in the system. Today we begin something new, he announced. Not an empire built on conquest, but an alliance built on cooperation. The galaxy is wide enough for everyone to prosper if we work together. President Vasquez delivered the closing address of the peace conference from the Alliance Council chambers. Representatives of over 300 species listened as she outlined the principles that would guide their new civilization. For too long, this galaxy has known only the rule of the strong over the weak, she began. Today, we choose a different path. We choose to measure strength not by the number of worlds we conquer, but by the number of species we help to thrive. The Free Worlds Alliance would face challenges in the years to come. Not every species would choose cooperation over conquest, and the work of building a truly democratic galactic government would take generations. But on this day, as former enemies worked together to plan their shared future, it seemed that anything was possible. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of his ship, now serving as a patrol vessel protecting trade routes between Alliance worlds. Through his viewports, he could see ships of a dozen different designs traveling peacefully together, carrying goods and ideas between worlds that had once been separated by fear and conquest. "Captain," his communications officer called, "we're receiving a distress signal from the Outer Rim. Unknown raiders attacking a mining convoy." Chen smiled grimly. There would always be pirates and raiders to deal with, but now they faced not just human determination, but the combined strength of an entire galaxy united in purpose. "Set course for the distress signal," he ordered. "Let's show them what the Free Worlds Alliance does to bullies." As his ship jumped to hyperspace, accompanied by vessels from 3 different species, the message was clear. The galaxy had changed forever, and those who would prey on the innocent now faced something they had never encountered before: a truly united community of worlds, bound together not by fear or conquest, but by the simple human belief that everyone deserved the chance to be free.